Welcome back, my friends. We're so happy that you're here. It is tea time with me. I cannot wait to go through the different topics that we have planned for today, and we have my tea teacup ready. It's Chip. You can tell he's going to be part of the story today. So, to get things started, I thought that it might be good to go through a little bit of my history within procurement just to introduce myself a little bit more and introduce what we're going to be talking about in all of our upcoming videos. So, a little bit about my background, and it's not a typical story within procurement, although it is typical in one way that I didn't think I would ever be in procurement. So, let's start from the beginning. And it actually does start with this, with Mr. Chip here. He's my teacup for today. And when I was young, a big movie at the time was Beauty and the Beast. And I loved that movie so much. It actually inspired me to learn French, which I know that's kind of crazy, but I was like, nobody spoke French in the movie, but I knew that it was based in France and I loved the culture and everything about it. So decided to study French in high school, which then led to me getting almost a full ride scholarship to study French in college, which was awesome. Like, never even thought that that would be possible. And it got me into a great school that I adored. But what do you do with a French major at the end of the day? And so I was like, okay, it's great that I'm getting a scholarship, but how do I get through school? So I decided to add another major, and that is international political economics. So I was able to study the international dynamics of economics and how it has an impact on our day-to-day lives and how politics shape our economic times. Very, very cool study in college, and it's great. We had only like 3 kids in our classes, so it was just a lot of fun to be able to debate and discuss these topics, especially the relevant topics of the day. So I ended up graduating early after I lived in France for a little while, which was absolutely a dream come true. And but I was getting ready to graduate. It was about 3 weeks before I was going to graduate, and I was like, what am I going to do for a living? I'm graduating. I need to find a job, and I have no idea what I'm going to do. So what I did next was interesting. So I went to my counselor, and he was like, "Hey, there's a book that's related to international politics and economics and your major, and it has a list of the different jobs that you might be able to get." So I went through it, and at first I went through the A's. It was all alphabetical ordered and nothing interested me in the A's. And then I got through most of the B's and came across buyer. And I was 20, 21 years old, and I was like, I like to buy things. Don't you like to buy things? Who doesn't like to buy things? So I decided that maybe buyer would be a great place for me to land. And so, luckily enough, there was a French headquartered company that had their North American headquarters right down the street from where I was living, Schneider Electric. And I went onto their website. Sure enough, there was a buyer one position open. I applied for it, got invited to an interview a week later, got offered the job the day after the interview, and the rest is history. So that's how I got into procurement, which was just an amazing kind of journey of reflection on how something as a child could shape your entire career path. And I remember that a lot when I'm thinking about my kids now. They're at that age where I was influenced by Beauty and the Beast, and it totally changed the direction of my career. So since then, so I got into the buying role, and people might be wondering why do I have such a passion about change management and transformation within procurement? And it's because that's really the where I started, and I saw the benefits of transformation done well in procurement. And I also had experiences where maybe it wasn't done so well. And we had to do a lot of repairing after the fact, and which was unfortunate because it impacts people and in your teams and their motivations, and it makes people tired and burnt out. So anyway, so my first gig was that buyer one role, and come to find out it was over travel and the credit card program, which was really neat. But when I walked in, they said, hey, big project. We're moving away from our 6 on-site travel agents to an online booking tool, which at the time was something very new. People were accustomed, especially the executives and the upper echelons of the company were very used to having their personal travel agents that they could just walk down and see because they were actually on site. So how times have changed, but that was my first change initiative, and it went really well. And I was actually laughed at because I said that we were going to get 75% compliance to the online booking tool within the first 30 days, and people literally laughed at me. Like I went to conferences, and they're like, "There's no way, nobody's going to do that. They're too used to what they're doing." They love their travel agents, which they did. And but we thought through all of the different parameters of change, which we'll be talking about in future videos. But it was just so important to understand that change just isn't a technology. It's much more than that. It's a combination of data and metrics and culture and people and process and policies and many other things that we can get into at a later date. But it was a lot of fun. I remember talking in front of the executive staff. I was about 3 months out of from graduating college, and it was just a surreal thing because I was what, 21 years old, talking to a CEO of a company, or at least the CEO of North America and his staff, and had great mentorship through my boss at the time. And she told me that they're just another group of people. They put their pants on just the same. They're bringing you in because you know your stuff, and just make sure that you're prepared for their questions that they might ask. And so one of the main points that I made during that conversation is that this project is going to either work or fail, and it's really dependent on their behavior. If they start using the online booking tool and they show the rest of the organization that they can do it with their complex travel and all of the traveling that they do, that other people will fall in line. So I was very clear that there were no exceptions just because they were executives, and the rest is history. So we hit our numbers, and that really started my career in change. After that, I did 3 SAP implementations, which you know are always a bear. 2 of those 3 implementations are actually re-implementations of SAP because first implementations were highly customized, didn't go very well, weren't sustainable. So that's where I learned a lot about how to recover from situations like that, and why you want to do it right the first time. Then I transitioned into, oh my goodness, a whole bunch of ProcureTech implementations, ranging from, I know I'm going to throw out some names here that actually don't exist any longer, but Taurus and Bravo and Reba and SAP SRM, Coupa, all kinds of different ones, some analytics tools. So I was really able to understand how technology can enable success, but it's just that it's a tool. It's like a hammer. Like you need to know how to use it, otherwise you start making holes in the walls, and you don't want that. So anyway, so I had a lot of fun. And then I made my way over to MGM Resorts, and I had my dream job there, and I tell people that all the time. I was working for my mentor, Stacy Taylor. She's just an absolutely amazing person if you get to meet her. But I also was able to build a team from scratch. We were completely transforming the organization. We were doing a Coupa implementation. And it was just a heck of a lot of fun. Like Oh, I opened two properties for them too. Helped with the supply chain around those openings, which was a blast. If anyone ever gets to open a property for a resort, especially if you work in procurement and supply chain, it is an experience like none other. Highly, highly recommend it. So, had a lot of fun in my corporate career. And I got to the point at MGM where I realized I started looking around to all my friends on LinkedIn and who I was meeting at conferences, and people seem to really want to do change correctly. And then a lot of people also just they were coming up to me and saying, "Hey, I implemented Coupa, but I there's so many things so many more things that I could do to make it really great, and or I implemented X, Y, and Z, and I didn't get the supplier adoption that I wanted, or um, gosh, I'm really struggling to get legal to buy on to this new CLM that we've deployed. So it's really a challenge when you are a leader within an organization and you're faced with these wonderful technologies that are coming out, but adoption is still something that we really need to focus on. At the end of the day, you're dealing with people. Every single person has their own perspective, um, their own history, their own emotions, their own things that are going outside of the work world that might be influencing them at work. So it's really sensitive when you are trying to deploy something, and the days of just telling people that they have to do it really don't work. There's so much change going on. If you take that approach, you're gonna burn out your people. They're not gonna stay. You're gonna have retention issues. You're gonna have talent issues. Word gets out that for organizations that do that, and so recruiting even becomes difficult. So you really need to take a strategic look at your change management and user adoption strategies so you can bring people along and they can innovate alongside with you. So 4.5 years ago, I decided to leave corporate, leave my dream job to start Wonder Services. And Wonder Services, believe it or not, is all about change management and user adoption. So we help organizations, particularly when they're going through a digital transformation change, to ensure that they maximize their ROI on their investment and get their people to adapt these changes and keep their culture intact, or in some cases, improve their culture because of, let's just say, change gone bad in the past. So we're having a lot of fun. And we've been able to help so many clients over the last 4.5 years really, truly be successful. We're building out a team here of practitioners who are also consultants. So they've sat in the seat before and really have a passion to create change, particularly within procurement. Although we have had some really great success moving outside of procurement now and helping larger ERP transformations, merger and acquisitions. Um, mm, this tea is so good. And we're also helping with some merger and acquisitions, like a move from Oracle to SAP. So it has been just a blast. And if you are curious about learning more about change management, we will add my contact information at the end. We would love to hear from you. But we're going to be doing a lot of value-added education, because one thing that I realized as I reflect on my own journey and I get to interact with so many people across supply chain and procurement, what I'm realizing is that leaders in general are not taught how to lead change. You might be a really good operator. You might be able to really lead high performing teams, but change is a different animal, especially when you're trying to influence people who don't report to you, who are out in the business, have different goals than you. You have to align at a leadership level, a peer level, all the way throughout the organization. You need to know how to activate other people, other influencers in the organization to spread the good word. communicate effectively, train effectively. I mean, there is just so much that goes into creating change that it's really a shame that so many leaders are just thrown in to the deep end and expected to know all of this stuff. So we are going to be doing this kind of tea time together on a frequent basis, and just to casually talk about change and hopefully uh, provide you some really great insights and information about what you should be thinking through as you are approaching your change initiatives this coming year. And I would ask, you know, if you're if you have change coming up, to really be focused. But I know leaders today, I mean, gosh, you're leading change all the time. And sometimes multiple changes at once. So I know that most of you are leading change, and you'll probably use this information, and it could be valuable to you. So we will provide much more insights around change. We might even get into some leadership capabilities. I know as a leader, if you're leading change, it can be really heavy. There's a lot of energy that goes into it, emotion that goes into it. Sometimes your job could be on the line because of how things are going or not going. So we really want to make sure that that you are felt support, that you're supported, and that you also have insights around how to manage your energy and how to focus on having joy in your career so that you as a leader don't get burnt out, which is a big part of what we're trying to accomplish here. So I am so excited about this. I hope that you enjoy my history and why I am passionate about this and why I started Wonder Services. And we are going to have a lot of fun in these little conversations. So until next time, drink up your tea, and we will see you later.